throwing the arrow from one stone right here. So it's got to be. I'm trying to design it into a sequence. Yes. I just cranked it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's not really. Oh, yeah.
It was working.
I'm saying that.
What are two local hosts on my you want to have two local hosts
Like, imagine one of them being the Jaws DP,
Haven't even done
but
that
not
yet.
vocal.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I never did that.
I honestly don't even know how to do the Jaws TV thing yet.
Longest 3 minutes.
Yeah. I'm like the audience is kind of. So should you give like a couple of more minutes? Maybe it's a traffic or something. Take some time for me to get here too. Yeah. The alarm went off as soon as you guys entered, and they were beep beep beep. That's when it started. Let's see. The sec messages. All right, let's go ahead and get started for today's class. Let's see, Fernando says he's running late. Okay. So I've been talking to some of you guys about the Saturday's class. You guys got introduced to sequelize. Before we begin, what questions do you guys have about sequelize? Any concept in sequelize? What did you guys think about sequelize?
Honestly, I don't even understand ORM is.
Okay. Don't understand ORM.
Like it's good, just a lot more to understand.
Right. Well, I mean, the purpose of sequelize is that it's less to understand, or less to code. But seems like it's. And I was talking to guys over here, and we have to spend a lot more time in something previously to kind of understand sequelize and kind of see how beneficial it is. But we kind of have to skip quickly towards the next topic, so it's kind of hard to see the true benefits. But Dylan, you were saying you didn't understand ORM. What did you understand about ORM? Just in general. Is there anything you understood about ORM?
I mean, I can kind of figure out how it works. I just don't understand why it's necessary, really.
Okay, how does it work?
It basically just exports multiple different files, kind of like appendages to a body, and then
Okay.
mix them all together.
The kind of so you are saying they kind of bundles multiple files together?
not bundles, but like kind of gets bits and pieces of each file, and then connects them all
Okay.
to one.
Okay. So that's not exactly what the ORM is. So let me quickly explain one more time. So what ORM is, it's a wrapper over your SQL queries. That's what ORM is. So remember we write the queries, select star from this, select select star from this table where there's a condition, or delete from this, right? So what ORM does is ORM hides those direct queries from the user or from you guys, right? It's a wrapper on top of those SQL queries. That's what it is. ORM is. Just like jQuery. jQuery is a library, right? It's a bunch of JavaScript. It kind of wraps. It's a wrapper over JavaScript. Okay, but if you open the jQuery file, right? We remember we saw there was a bunch of JavaScript functions that they were calling. That's what ORM is also. So it's kind of wrapper on top of SQL queries. So the purpose is that you don't have to write select star and blah 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 blah, all those things. What you just have to do is you have to call the functions to do the same thing. For example, you guys must have seen a find one method of SQLize, right? Generally, in any other programming language that has ORM, you will find kind of standard functions. So what find one is doing is getting you one row from the database, basically, right? So it says find exactly one row from the database. Behind the scene, it is doing select star from my table name where, right? And then you have a condition over here. Okay. Then you have the second method called find all, right? What is find all doing? It's getting all the rows from the database. So basically, what does it translate to? Same thing, select star from table, and it stops over here. Okay, there's no where condition basically. But we don't have to worry about what it is doing, what query it is calling. The purpose of an ORM is that you just call this function and you should be good. It should give you what you're looking for. You don't have to write queries. That's what ORM is.
And that's already built into the...
Exactly. That's already built in. Example, same as jQuery. We don't have to worry about what JavaScript it is calling. We just have to worry about that how to use jQuery and how to call it. In ORM frameworks also, we just have to worry about how to set it up and what are the methods that I need to call to get the data back. I don't have to worry about what should be my query and what all I need to do.
And this is not SQLized.
This is what?
This is not SQLized, right?
This is not exactly SQLized. It's a general rule of ORM, and SQLize is one of the ORM frameworks.
I was just asking because I wasn't sure if the find one, find all are pre-built functions or like in JavaScript in general.
No, so they are not pre-built functions in JavaScript. These are part of any ORM framework. For example, SQLize.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So to do that, we
Right. And similarly, as I was saying, these find one, find all, and whatever the methods are, it's kind of standard across multiple languages. So people who create ORMs for Java, they also follow the same method names. You'll find the exact same methods. I'm not sure about C#, but I'm sure whatever the other frame is kind of standard. So they kind of keep the same function names. But over here, we are looking at ORM, and SQLize is one of the framework that does the ORM. So ORM is a concept. Okay. The ORM concept is that I wrap my SQL queries into a function. That's kind of the concept of ORM. Object relational mapping. So it's kind of maps your queries into a function or something, and then the return type is, what would be the return type? It's going to be an object, right? So it kind of maps it, your data, so results into an object, and that's what you get from ORMs. Okay, so again, the biggest advantage is that it kind of hides the writing query and building those relationships and all that stuff. That's what the main purpose of ORM is. Okay. So which were the SQLize or ORM methods from SQLize you guys saw on Saturday? I know find one, find all. What else was there? Were these the two only, or there was a couple of more?
Update one.
What was that?
Update one.
Update one? Okay. So these three. So this is select where. Okay. Find all is select star from table. What about the insertion one? Did you guys see a function or a method for inserting data? Create. I think that's what it's called. We can confirm it. Create or insert, or depending on different. But right now I think it's called create. Okay.
There's also creating
What was that? Deleting?
no, like there was also creating video, I think the video payment, like SQLize.define.
Oh, okay. Yeah. SQLize.define. Okay. So this one creates the table. We'll come back to that. So what does SQLize call the tables?
What do you call it?
Yeah, what do they call it? I think there's a what term they use when they're talking about tables in SQLize?
Oh,
What was that?
body.
Body. No, not body. It's part of the MVC model we saw. Oh, sorry. What is it?
Model.
Model. Yeah, that's what they call your tables and all this stuff. In SQLize, they call them models. Usually in other language also, it's kind of like translates to the same thing. Again, the concept is more important because it's not necessary that right now you guys are being taught SQLize, but there are a lot more frameworks, and depending on where you go, what language you are using, you might be using something else. But the concept will always remain the same. The concept of ORM is same. Even the method names, as I was saying, usually they are kind of the standards. So a find one in anything will always return you one row or one object. Okay, and basically it's running a query where you have a where clause in it. Find all will return you an array or a list of or a collection of objects. Okay, and it basically runs a select star from table. Okay, similarly create, inserts a row, updates a row, then there's a delete. We'll look at that method also. Okay, so basically ORM has all the CRUD operations: create, read, update, and delete. Yes.
So, from my knowledge, or at least how I kind of understand it, SQLize is more based towards talking to a database rather than talking to an API.
Yes, exactly. SQLize is talking to the database, and any ORM framework that you will look at is always talking to the database. It always resides in the database layer. Yes, exactly. Okay. Any other questions related to ORM or SQLize? This has kind of helped at least a concept. We'll come back to the coding. We'll do a couple of exercises. We'll walk through it, and we'll look at it again. All these methods, find one, find all. But from the concept, I want to be sure that everybody understands what ORM is. And as Cody was saying, where it resides in the database layer, right? So always going to be related to database stuff, ORM. And SQLize is just one of the ORM frameworks, okay? There are multiple in Node.js also, in Java, C#, every language, almost every language has a ORM framework, okay? SQLize in Node.js is kind of more popular. So that's why SQLize 0 here, okay? But the concept again remains the same. The setup configurations would be a little bit different, but as long as you understand, once you get off the configuration and setup, the calling part is standard across different languages. Okay. You guys work in C#, right?
Who? Me?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, you also, Aaron, Roy. So is there a framework in C# for ORM?
Entity framework.
What is it called? Infinity?
Entity.
Entity. Oh, okay, okay.
That's the main one you would use for that
Okay. So I wasn't sure what exactly it's called, but I was pretty sure that every language almost has it. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Okay. So you'll see we have 4 activities today, and they all are related. Okay. The last one is the final product that we are going to get to. Let's see. Let me go ahead and demo the last one so that you guys can see what we are trying to achieve, and then we'll start. We have broken this down, and then we'll go and start on that one. Okay. So CD10. Okay. Run npm install first. Might already have it. Let's see. Okay. Oh, great. Okay. That's fine. Let me go ahead and see if I have this table. Interesting. Oh, because I restarted my computer. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay. Let's try this again. Oh, okay, that's better. So maybe that's why this wasn't coming up. Okay. So looks like I don't have this table, so let me go ahead and run this real quick so that creates a database. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see, what am I missing here? I need to update my config root. Node mon server. Let's see if this runs. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if this runs. Okay. So this is going to be our final exercise or final product. So in this, what we are saying is that you can create a to-do list. Create a to-do list, and then it kind of enters. Okay. So this is adding it to the database. I'm reading this from my local host, from my local database. And then what you can do is we can do a check mark. So it crosses it out, and you can press X and it deletes it from the database. This is going to be the final, and we're going to get to this using Sequelize, starting from our all 4 CRUD operations. That's what we're going to complete today. Okay. So you don't have to worry about anything about JavaScript related to UI or HTML. Those that template already has all that stuff. The only thing we'll be looking into is the Node.js part and the Sequelize part. Okay. So let's go ahead and start this activity. Let me close all these out. So we'll start with the first one. Okay. Now what I will do is here's the README. kind of outlines all the steps that you guys need to do. Go ahead and start on this exercise for 15 minutes or whatever time, 15-20 minutes. And then I'll go ahead and after the time is up, I'll walk through each one of these steps and then we'll go through it together. Okay? And please, I'll be going around. Let me know if you guys have any questions, anything related. But guys, keep your questions at this point related to this particular exercise or sequelize or ORM. Don't ask any homework related right now because I've gotten feedback. A lot of people are still struggling. Of course, with this concept, I want to make sure that everybody understands, and I'm going to, concentrate on this particular exercise right now. Okay. Homework questions, after 9:30, we are here. Come and ask those questions for now. Work on this. If you complete this early and you want to, work on your homework or something, it's fine. But please don't ask questions related to that right now. Okay. So start on this, and then when the time is up, we'll go through this together. Okay. I'll code this out. Let's see how much time do we have for this. Okay, let's target 7:15. I'll give you some extra time on this one. Let's see. Well, I know it's number 5. Let's start with number 1. That's okay. Alright guys, if you don't have Sequelize or CLI installed, please look at number 5. I know it's step number 5, but if you did not install this on Saturday, I would highly recommend you go and follow the number 5. Yeah, look at the so did you install Sequelize on Saturday? The best way to check is in your Mac in your lab, just type Sequelize -v space -v, and it should give you a version. This is number 7. Oh, Sequelize -v space -v. So Sequelize as it is spelled over here, and then space -v, I think. If not, then minus version. Try that. One of those will work. -v, okay. Space and then -v. If it shows you a version number, this means this is installed. If not, then so I will do number 5.
Version number.
Yeah, npm install 9. What was that?
I got this number. I don't know if that's an error number or like a. I'm trying to do number 5 there.
Number 5. Oh, number 5 is. Oh, you have it installed and everything?
Well, I'm trying to do number 5. The first thing it's telling me to do is
Oh,
this,
yeah.
and give me this number. I don't know
Okay,
what
okay.
it is.
I'm sorry. Number 5, if you are trying to install, even in 5, if it gives you an error, this means it's not installed. Then do the second part first, and then go back to the first one. So the first line will not work unless you have npm install -g sequelize blah blah blah. So the best thing is try this first. Sequelize space -v. If it shows you an error, command not found or something, this means you do not have it installed. So do a npm install -g sequelize and all that stuff. So, authentication error. I think you were the one who did a sudo. You had to do it, right? So do a sudo npm install -g sequelize. Yeah. So I can do it over sudo. Usually word max are like yeah, that means installed.
Saturday, but Saturday's a bit of a fog.
Me too.
Jesus. Well, I was joking. They made us take the survey, and they said, "So tell us how it's going." I said, "Well, normally there's a healthy dose that I'm confused
Yeah.
with a side dish of what the hell."
Yeah.
The last week it's been gone to
Yeah.
like
Well,
ballistic. I don't know what's
right.
up.
Of course, I get the anonymous comments. I don't know who is saying what, but there were some very interesting comments.
Oh, really?
Similar to what you are saying.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like. Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between being confused because you can't keep up with something and being confused because you completely have no idea what it is. Totally different animals.
Yeah.
So you are good. You have it installed, so you can now start from the
Okay. Because I did the database already.
You did it also?
Yeah. When we came in, I saw that on the readme side. So now I just have to get rid of the ORM. In the API.
Yeah, just follow the instructions and I will go back to it.
You're not sure if you should do it? Yeah, all of these are really causing breaks. If it's a brand new.
I'm
not sure.
Usually in any npm packages you install, you can put the name, space, and -v, minus version. All of them kind of work. That kind of standard across most organizations. Oh, it's version. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Now you can start from the first one.
Are you doing fun?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that would be, I had it on that. Okay, so it's right here.
Oh,
I got it right here.
yeah, get rid of the whole layer.
You made the JSON
automatically
result
create
see
the
the
folder. And once you run the 5 commands,
let's
the
see, go
sequelize
right
init
there.
models,
Okay.
it should automatically create the folder. Give it a try before. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry.
How did you find out?
I looked up the sign.
Yes. Huh? We are in dev. Does it have a dev? What Mustafa? Yeah, private. Let me see which one I tried.
No, you can.
I think it's the dev one that I tried the last one. It's
I've never done.
yeah, development. Try the development.
If you can create a area and do a refresh in the workbench and turn it better, so you can save stuff. I've only worked on it. First day I learned it was work bench. It's just I'm more comfortable now. But the less time you got a tab, the better. Well, that'll be the project. Yeah, it's under the maybe we do React first and then somewhere in that pack.
That's good. So this part is going on. Keep moving on. So open the API out.
I really like this cool logos.
Yes.
It seems to have new stuff we have all the time. So I think
It's on my templates.
Works for me.
certified partner.
I don't know.
Oh, it's been awesome for testing, especially not having to worry about how far I'm in the I still got
It's inside the local host. You don't have to create outside.
three versions of MongoDB.
Right. Local host is the connection, same as your MySQL, and within that these are all the database. This is created to do this database, but not the tables right now. We just created the.
So,
So it's there. Yeah.
phase two.
Did you find the ORM address?
That's question.
Yeah.
You created
Deleted combination.
Just want to use your Twitter.
The whole line, yeah.
Dave created.
Trying to tell you, it should be easy, but oh, sorry for that.
Different.
Find a way in. Obviously, you're
It's
here.
installed at 4 times.
Yeah, it does a lot of work for you.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of crazy. Awesome.
Who's all sitting on the concrete
You get there. How far you get?
On over 7. Sam. I have no idea what I'm doing.
What? Okay, yeah, that's good. At least as long as it is working, we'll go through it.
No, unfortunately,
Now I guess I'm gonna look at the commands. It's not Saturday.
You don't have to remember.
So you're using your folder, the database name that you're using.
Oh, so I'm just doing like name passwords. I just remember it worked. That's what my password is. Oh, my bad.
I guess my business
Yeah, my wife uses double. Okay, it's requiring every day this.
Yeah, you can.
Which
I really don't know what to do. Yeah.
Let's see, just like I did it all.
I mean, just the develop.
But
Oh, you don't have to do this.
But I feel like if I'm future-proofing myself.
So activity folder it means it's unsolved. So now you have to go into your bash
Okay, don't.
and run the command npm installer. So you have your bash.
no. Okay. Just one second.
You are in unsolved 07. Now you have to go inside the unsolved and then press the main folder. Yep, now you in this file, comment it out and delete it, just like this. So it is.
So, yeah, I don't know if it's in that.
Then you start.
We're gonna
Okay, this was equalize space minus b.
Go to SQLize library.
Well, so this is the fifth step. That's why just come back to the fifth. When you want to start from
all that first to the forward slash. To that forward slash.
Oh, this shows right here, but I just copied the.
That's almost done. It's not working? Okay. What's the. Cannot find the serial.js. Which step are you? All done? Oh, I need to write.
In case I had this
Right folder. You should be in the unsolved one.
Oh no, my site successfully created a model.
Yeah. This is the outside. So you have to run the npm install inside the unsolved folder. Yeah.
Because it's in
SQL.
we'll press it.
So I have to refer to I don't cannot find models.
Oh, right.
It sounded so Oliver-ish.
What about node? What are you running? Node.
Well, you know your house.
Yeah, just do it without the dot.
Let's have some more.
So if you
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah. And it's hard to do. Right?
Yeah.
And then this
It is missing. Did you run the line number 5 with the synchronized unit model and synchronized unit config? You run the synchronized unit model?
Yes.
Yeah. Because it should create an index.js in that folder.
Okay. That's what that is missing.
I think that's the.
Yep.
Right.
I don't know if you want to call it.
Yeah, but what is
We 7, 8, 9 basically, I think.
right?
I
So
hear
we
basically
wanted it, but I don't know.
So one
Let me go to the models real quick.
So
So it's supposed to make it to do JS. What I can kind of come up with.
So go back
Next
to
to my
the
export it.
Yes.
Would I like shorten it?
And then I go
There
back
you
to the
go.
server. And require it here.
So
Maybe a DB like it said to in the instructions. But what about the index.js?
You don't have to.
That one's already exported by
DB.
So what you can do is go back to the code where it's exported. Just do. Oh, no, sorry, import it.
So in this round, I think it's big file right here.
So just do. Don't do sudo. Just do /mod.
Oh, you
And
can
this
do the
will.
whole one.
Yeah, this will.
It might be because you already ran it.
Does it matter that it has the same variable name as the index.js export?
Yes, next.
Oh, no.
I don't know if that's
It's kind of more restricted.
our
It
configuration.
will remain there.
No, I think.
Where do I put in the DB SQLite sync? Do I put it in the server JS
Essentially, whatever it's called.
Yes.
before the
Person
list?
changed his name to the next one because it was just lowercase sequelized. They gave me a different.
Give it a try, and then I'll show you how. But it has to be
That's the connection.
before. It has to run before your
Yeah,
I figured.
The db.sqlite is probably a basic call, so you want to make sure.
So the DB is the variable name we just required for
Yes.
models, right?
Yep.
So if we named it a different variable, it would be that
Oh, yeah.
not SQL.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Yep.
Maybe because you had a big folder. So the config folder.
Your work?
Yeah. Yeah. You think if the folder's pre-existed, then. So it wouldn't.
Right. So that's why it said delete the whole config folder and then come to step. I think step number 1 or
No, when you put it before, I believe that in models.
No, models didn't exist to begin with.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
exist.
so I have to use that same.
We just
Yeah.
wanted to get
Right.
information security models, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll do this.
This will create the models folder.
That'll work.
And apparently, PowerShell commands don't allow me to add.
Oh, okay.
So, that's why it's pretty.
What's
Oh, that's what's great.
If you're in Bash, it would. Like,
Okay.
Mine is always in PowerShell.
I know.
So what's the double add?
I was there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Do I need to define SQLite in the server JS? Like let's
Yes.
SQLite equal,
let what?
like let's SQLite equal require SQLite? like I do with Express.
Oh, no. So remember we did a minus G,
Yeah.
npm minus G to install overall you don't have to do a require.
Well, it's telling me that Sequelize is not defined.
Sequelize is not. What did you write?
This is an activity that has
db.sequelize sync.
Okay. And then?
I tried to run the server by node.
It doesn't work.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
dot then,
yeah, look at the documentation.
Well,
documentation on what?
On the Sequelize?
Just find that you don't need a return.
Looking at step 6,
Whatever.
you know, I think we might not have to touch that at all.
You don't need it. You can include it if you want, because essentially we return them.
I need the dot then.
Once you call return.
Yes.
So that's the one we're talking about calling a function. So anything underneath return does not get executed.
Yeah, look at the basic usage and the functions.
I mean, in that much, but it's something common, you might have either one of
I have no idea how
those.
to but
Really doesn't matter. But I would personally just go off whatever the operation has. So they obviously did build it, so they obviously know that's what it is. So I looked at it and they didn't have a good return keyword. So I would just go along with that.
Yes. And number. Yeah. Okay. It will. Yes. It will. If you do the required / model, so it will put everything inside the file. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's yeah. Sequelize init : model.
Okay.
Number 5.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay. So just sequelize and that's what we're looking for the sync. Oh, so you have to go both ways. So sequelize and scroll model.
Yep. The only thing is in your type method, go and get that. Okay. So inside
that's fine. Secret from that one. Okay, so that's fine. So you can go
So I just get a dot then. And then
that's not
keep the yeah.
Like this would go in the parentheses.
This would go in the even remove the arrow. Just do a simple one. Just do a dot then, and inside your dot then, you can write that. You can do like dot then, and then do an anonymous function. Okay, and then in that function you can just copy your app.listen.
Okay, so I should
Close it out.
No, you already have that. Well, you already did it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, you don't need this last one. It's always going to end in but this is oh, okay. Go ahead and start. I thought this was so most of the time it will end if everything is good, then they should. It should. See if there's any issues, and then we can. Okay. What's the error?
Sequelize is not defined. It's giving me the same issue.
Sequelize is not defined. And so you have because you're just calling the folder.
Yeah, we did.
But see, I don't use autosave. So default, when it's you autosave after delay of 1 second, I do it
So this requires.
so when you're typing and you click outside of the editor window, this is just a job I'm doing on
We have to require.
no, you don't need to depth.
Then you require sequelize.
Oh,
I copied the file. We have to require.
yeah, you need a require sequelize over here.
For this activity, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think our ports would change.
And you're exporting.
Well, I copied that later because I wanted to know how to express it. But we're not even using express on this one.
well, that required. Yeah, it's not really something wrong. So you require on the sequelize, you're saving it to
Yeah.
There's
and requiring the sequelize here would make sense because you're not
easier way to do this so that you don't need all this stuff. That's how it should. Wasn't this in the Saturday class?
Yeah, I briefly recall it.
Okay, that's okay. I'll go to
over
it.
the activities there because I've been too busy trying to teach myself handlebars.
I don't know that it
Huh? I did what? Sync the servers. Okay. So this is the method you have to call db.sequelize.sync in your server.js, right? It says before we start the Express server. Where are we starting the Express server? It's in the server.js where app.listen. So before that. Okay.
So they're literally just very
All right, guys. Let's do this real quick, and I'll start from the step 1, and you guys can see. And whichever step you guys are stuck on, let me know, and then we can discuss that further. Okay. So let me open my README here in a different window. All right. So create a new local MySQL database called to-do list, but don't create any tables. Okay. So for this, let me close this out. I'm going to go in my unsolved folder. And then what I would do is I would just click this schema and then do a run MySQL query. That's what I'm going to do. And this will create my database table. Oh, that's the database. The other way is copy this and put it in your MySQL. Okay, so I already did this to show you the example earlier, so I should have my to-do over here. Let me just refresh. Okay, where is it? Okay, I have it over here. All right, so anybody having issues with the first one? First one is okay, right? Everybody was able to create the database to-do list. Okay, all right, let's go to the second one. Delete any references to orm.js file inside the API routes.js. Okay, so let's go in our routes, API routes file, open this. And the reference over here is this. So they're saying delete this reference. Again, orm.js, this is the one that we created and we had our wrappers around the SQL query. Okay, now since we're using SQLize will do that work. So that's why we don't need this anymore. So go ahead and delete this. All right, so this is done. Let's go to number 3, delete the config folder. All right, let's go to our config folder. We don't need this delete folder anymore. So our config folder, or sorry, the config folder. Our config folder had our ORM and connection that we wrote in the previous week because we were creating our own ORM framework. Now we don't need this. Why do we don't need this? Because we are using an ORM framework called SQLize. So we don't have to worry about any more ORMs in our code. Okay, we don't have to write any more ORM code. So I've deleted this. Inside the activity folder, run npm install. So I'm going to open my terminal. Let's see, where am I? Go to my exercise 7, yeah, and then unsolved. Okay, so I'm in my folder and it says run npm install. This should install whatever my package.json has. Let's open the package.json meanwhile. And this is going to install Express, MySQL, MySQL 2, and SQLize. Okay, so this installs everything that I need to run my code. Okay, all right, this is done. All right, number 4, everybody good? Everybody able to install npm install? Let's look at number 5 now. In the terminal, type the following command SQL. Let's go back. And I want to show you over here. So now, right now we have 3 folders now: node modules, or npm installs, public, and routes. Okay. So let's go back to our terminal. Kind of getting really crowded here, but let me see if I can reduce the font a little bit. Okay, so that you guys can see what's happening. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this SQLize. I want to make sure it's installed, so I do a -v. Well, -v doesn't exist. Okay, version. So it gives me, oh, the version is not there. Minus version. Okay. All right, so it's SQLize minus version. It's 5.3, so this means it's installed. So I'm good. So I can run my command that says number 5. So I will say SQLize init models. Okay, so SQLize init models is basically saying initialize the models, which is kind of table definition. Okay, kind of basic structure. That's the configuration that is required by SQLize. Okay, the second part, it says, and you can run this separately or together, it's fine. I'll run it separately to show you guys. When I run this, you will see it creates a folder called models. Okay, again, this is part of the configuration that is required to run SQLize successfully. Okay, so I did that. It created my models folder, and inside models folder, there should be a file called index.js. So index.js is very important, otherwise your SQLize is not going to run. Okay, we'll take a minute and look at index.js really quickly. Okay, the second one, it's saying SQLize init config. Okay, I deleted a config folder and I run this command. It's going to create a config folder for me, which is also from Sequelize. Okay, we'll look at this one really quick too. Okay, so again, number 5, created 2 folders. One is called models and one is called config. These are part of your Sequelize setup. All right, when we talk about setting up Sequelize, these are the things that are important that will not run unless you do this. You don't have to memorize this. Just keep in mind these 2 commands before you start any project. You need to make sure these are running and that you have these 2 folders created. Okay, in your models folder, this is the easiest. Oh, well, let me start with the config one. Okay, so the config one, as you can see, this was created by Sequelize, and what it does is it has development, test, and production objects, a JSON file. What it does it over here, you can put your database connection. Okay, right now we are doing localhost and all that stuff, so usually that goes in your development part. When you push it to Heroku, most probably you will be updating the production database and putting the URLs over there. Okay, that's for later. But right now, our only concern is development, so I'll update development. This is my database name. Okay, it's not database development anymore. It's actually to-do, right? What was it called? To-do list. That's the database that I created in the first step. Let me make sure that's the name. To-do list, yeah. So I'm going to update these 2 things over here. All right. Again, this config folder and config file is generated by Sequelize when you do a Sequelize init config. All right. All right. Let's look at the models. Models is where your table is going to go. All your tables that you create, those are going to go inside your models folder. Right now, we don't have anything other than the index.js. Today, we are going to create only one table. We'll see multiple tables on Thursday, but for now, let's get one table started. All right, this index.js file, this is again generated by Sequelize. You don't have to worry about it too much, but if you want, open it and see. You will see that Sequelize is setting up everything. Over here, what it is doing is it's looking at your files. It's going to import those files and make sure that you are able to run Sequelize. So all of this over here, they're kind of doing a lot of stuff. And this is the wrapper that I was talking about. It's not the exact SQL query, but they are initializing the main setup. Right? That's what index.js has. Again, you don't have to worry about that as long as it is there. So when you run these 2 on number 5, make sure you have these 2 folders, and inside your models, there should be index.js, and inside your config, there should be config.js, .json. All right. Now, was everybody able to complete step number 5? Good, good. Over here, good. Okay, Michael, good. All right. All right. So let's go to number 6. Config.json, modify the development object to database, username, password. Everybody did that. I just did in the previous step. Okay. Let's do number 7 now. Navigate to models folder and create a new file called todo.js. Create a to-do model with columns for text and complete. Okay. So let's go ahead and so I'm in my models folder, and it says go ahead and create a file called todo.js. Okay, now what does the models folder hold again? Our tables. So whatever table that you are going to create in MySQL models folder, they go inside your model folder. So when I say todo.js, again, that's kind of standard. Put the table name that you're going to create as the file name also. So I'm going to create a table called todo. So I'm going to name my file todo.js. Yes. Exactly. Each table will have a single file. So if I have 2 more tables, create 2 more files. You see how easy it is? It will create more files, but now you have separate. Now you can directly go into the table or the model that you're interested in. Okay. So if there's a to-do 2 table, to-do list or something, create a new JS file, put that in over there. Of course, you can put everything in a single file, but don't do that. All right. Right, create separate files. Okay, so this is my to-do folder, to-do file. Now they're saying I need to create 2 columns basically, text and complete, which is going to be a boolean. Okay, now let's start with this. Now the easiest way to create this is, I'm not sure if you guys saw this on Saturday or not, but again, this syntax will kind of help you because when you run the SQLize, it kind of goes into this model folders and looks inside this model folder for your tables or your model structure. And how does it do it? The code is in index.js. Over here they have written the code that goes inside and is kind of expecting your tables or your models to be defined in that folder. Okay, you define it elsewhere, I don't think it's going to work because this is where it goes and looks for it. Okay, and how do we define this? The best way to do is create an anonymous function and export it. All right, let me show you how. Create an anonymous function and then pass in 2 parameters. One is called SQLize and the second is called data types. Exactly. You don't have to worry about requiring SQL. The thing is, again, SQLize is smart enough. They already have that setup kind of deal. When you do this, they will go and pull the data out of it. All right, this is the easiest way to do it instead of doing a require, SQLize, and all that stuff. Okay, but you have to export this function. So the start with the module.exports. Okay, again, if you create new models, just remember this module.export, anonymous function, and then pass in your SQLize and data types, and the rest the SQLize will handle. Yes.
This question was, is there a reason for
You can keep it lowercase. What's kind of the standard when I was looking at this SQLize documentation? It's still a parameter, but they are using, this is the okay, I don't want to jump ahead, but what we call is called enum or enumeration. I don't know if you guys remember. So those this kind of standard, well, camel case starting with the uppercase tells me that it's enum. So enum is basically like big object, and it consists of some other things inside it, and we'll see what it consists of. So by looking at this tells me that, you know, there are different data types inside it. So if this is data type, and this is called enum or enumeration, that's what it kind of refers to. If you get it, it's fine. If not, I'll show you the next syntax. But this is the reason that it's uppercase and all this kind of standard practice when you're doing this. Okay, now let's see what it actually means. So let's go ahead and create a var to do is equal to SQLize. This is the parameter that I'm passing in over here. Okay, and I'm creating the model or the data, the table. So you say define. Okay, again, of course, I don't remember this syntax. I'm looking at the documentation and then seeing how they are in the basic, whatever that is. They have this code defined that when you're creating a model, this is what you need to follow. Okay, so following the same documentation, this is the method I have to call, and this will create my model. Okay, SQLize.define. Now inside this, I have to do a couple of things, but define is a method. Every time you want to create a model, which is our database table, you do SQLize.define. Okay, the first parameter is the name of the table that you want to create. So let's go ahead and create a table called to do. All right, the second part is all the columns that I want to define. Okay, So the README says I have to create two columns. One would be a text, okay, string, and the second would be a boolean. Okay, so let's go ahead and define a column called text. Okay, and what's the data type of this? Data types dot string. Okay, now where is the data type dot string coming from? Again, from the documentation. This is the code or the syntax that SQLize require every time you are creating a data type. Again, I was saying the data type, this thing is a enum and it contains some things. So what it contains is all the type of data type. So there is a string, boolean. What's for the number? Anybody remembers for the number? Integer? What's it called? Integer. So data types dot integer. Okay, if you want to create a number column. What was that? Or if you want to create a column, I'm saying this is how you do it. All right. Different data types. Your data types parameter that you're passing in contains all of that stuff. Again, right now it doesn't look like, but when you define it like this, SQLize is going to go and what we call inject is going to pass in these two variables and kind of work its magic through the way. Okay. But this is the configuration that you need to set up. Okay, let's define our second column, which is called complete. Okay, and this is going to be a boolean. So same as data types dot boolean. Okay. All right, so I have my table, I have this. Now I'm doing a export, so I need to return something. So I'll return this variable over here. Okay. Again, now if you have to create a new model, exact same thing. Module.exports is equal to anonymous function with two parameters, SQLize and data types. SQLize will prevent you from doing a required SQLize and all that stuff, and data types will have your data types. Yes?
On the documentation, they're using const instead of let. Is there any advantage to one versus the other?
Okay, so where are they using it?
Instead of let for to do,
right?
Using the const.
No, it's fine. So const basically means that you cannot change the value. So right now we are not changing anything. So const would be fine over here. You can use const, it's fine. And let, if you remember, it's scope, so that this variable is not available outside this file. But you can use const also, it's fine. It doesn't matter. But the reason they're using const is because you're not changing this variable anymore. So instead of doing a let, you could just put a const.
But it shouldn't affect.
At this point, it shouldn't affect anything.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any point where it would, where you would want to make it a let instead of a?
Yeah, if you are well, not over here, but in your code, if you are changing something, like let's suppose if I do const name is equal to, okay. Now what I cannot do later on is I cannot do this with a const. It's going to give me an error. The const means constant. Yeah.
I just meant in this for using SQLize. This
yeah.
Is there any case where we want to change?
No, not in this file. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything happening in this file. Right. We are not changing anything. So you can do a const over here. Yeah. I don't see a reason. Yep. Okay. All right, let me go back and see which point was this, number 7. Okay. Before we move on, any questions on this? Was everybody, if not at that point right now, are you guys able to complete this step? Everybody able to create a to-do file? Good. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one then.
I have one quick question.
Yes.
When we're exporting, how are we going to call that export specifically, or is it just because we're calling the whole folder, we'll call that?
Right. So what you would do is you would call the whole folder. The reason is there's index.js file, and you want to give the control to index.js to worry about all this stuff. You can call it specifically by saying /module/to-do.js.
Would it be pertinent to give it a name anyway, just in case, or would that mess things up, even if we don't necessarily need the name?
Give it a try and see what happens. But if you just say models, it should take care of both the files. But if you specifically give this, right, then you're missing out the index.js. Or what you can do is give both of them separately and see if that works. Yeah. But that's the next step what he's talking about. So let's go through that real quick. So number 7 says, number 8 says create require all our models by requiring the models folder, and then this goes in our server.js. So let's go back here. So now we need to create a variable called db, and that is going to do a require for the models folder. That's all we need to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that. Let db is equal to require /models. Okay, and what this will do is everything that is inside that folder comes into that variable. Okay, so right now the folder has two files, index.js and our table definition, to-do.js. Okay, Thursday we'll see multiple tables, so all of those tables kind of will be imported into this file. Okay, so that was step number 8. Okay, now sync the models by running db.sequelize.sync. If you don't know what this means, look at the documentation. So I googled the documentation and it brought me to this one, sequelize.sync. So it says sync syncs all the defined models to the database. Okay, now we have our models. Now we need a way to tell Sequelize that go ahead and create that table and create those columns within that table. Okay, and they are calling it sync. The reason they are calling it sync is if you go ahead and update your model, right, it's going to sync. It's going to kind of sync. There's a differentiation now. So let's suppose you add a column to your model, and then you need to sync it with your Sequelize. You need to tell your Sequelize, hey, there was an update. That's why they call it sync. You know, kind of synchronizes your models. All right. So you need to do this before you start your app.listen. All right. Now, why do we do this? If you start listening and we don't have our database set up, it's going to give an error, right? We cannot do anything. All right. So we need to do that step before this. All right, so the method was called db.sequelize sync. Okay, this thing over here, a promise. Again, if you guys remember the callback, the async call concept, this is what this is same as the promise. What it means is it is saying that sync method is basically async call. It's not going to wait on your the next lines of your JavaScript code. What it will do is it will return you something called promise. Again, this is same as the callback functions. It's a different name called promise. What it means is that it's not going to wait on your next call. It's going to go ahead and start executing every line that is after this, and then it's going to come back when it completes whatever stuff it is doing. Then it's going to come back and do the next steps that you tell it in your callback function. Okay. Now going back again, what was the callback? Oh, right in front we have a callback function over here. Listen. Okay. This thing. This is a callback function, right? So app.listen is an async method. It doesn't wait. It will come here and start executing anything that is afterwards. Okay. If you want app.listen to wait on anything or execute something that you are you want the method to finish, you create an anonymous function, a callback function, then do everything inside it. Okay, so sequelize.sync is the same way. Okay, so what we do is we do this, and you will see .then a lot again in JavaScript and React and Angular a lot. What this is saying is go ahead and execute this sync function, all right? And when the sync function is complete, then whatever code I write in my then function, execute that. It's same as using the callback function. Okay? Again, execute the sync method. When it completes, then call the code over here. And what goes in the then method? Any guess? A function. What is it called? Function is right, but what kind of function? Callback function. Excellent. Yes. So you just write a function with no parameters and you call this. Okay? Again, and the reason is because sync is also a async call. Okay, that's why you need this. All right. So the README was saying that we need to call sync before this. So now what will happen if I run this? Will my listen start working first, or will my sync will work first? Exactly, you don't know, or we don't know. Maybe this will work first, then this will, or this will, or this will. The reason it's an async call, we don't know the completion. We know the calling. We know that this will get called first, then this will get called second, but we don't know which one is going to return first. All right. But what we 100% want is that when this sync is complete, then we want our port to start listening and all that stuff. So I cannot do this over here, but what I can do is I can put this there. Okay, because I want my app.listen to only start working once my database sync is complete. I do not want it to start listening on a port unless my database sync is done. And the only way, and the only for sure way, is to call this function in the callback function of the sync method. All right, there's no other way you can guarantee that your app.listen is not going to start working once your database complete, unless you do this. All right, one more time. So this, what it says is call the sync method, right? When this sync method is complete, when you have synced everything, then go ahead and start my port, start my Express server. Okay, unless you have synced, do not start my server. It's not going to start unless this completes. All right, now let's go ahead and run this. Is there any other step?
Do we have to require Express inside server data?
We do, because we still are using all of this app.listen. This is all part of express.js. So we still need that, yes. All right. So let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to use NodeMon. Don't really need it. Huh? I have what? Did I miss step number 2? What was step number 2? Yes. ORM references? Yeah, I did that. Let me go back and make sure. Well, yeah, the config folder got deleted, so it's already gone. Yeah. Right. Oh, it's in the routes folder. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just the one line
Right. That one line of code that was on the top over here, that's what I deleted. Yes.
So we weren't supposed to delete the rest of the ORM stuff in the route.
No, we were. There's no ORM stuff there.
In the routes.
In that.
Oh, no, just that one
Pretty
line.
much all that. Okay, well.
No, just the routes are fine, just the ORM stuff.
Or
But how would it know to do that if it doesn't know what the ORM is? Because the ORM is
Okay. So after this, do a local host. It should show something. I don't know what it shows. Let's see. Okay, shows up this. Did everybody get to this after this one? Let me go back here. Oh, throwing me an error. Router. Okay, we'll come back and see what that error is. At this point, this is good as long as I'm able to pull up my page. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Who was not able to pull up the localhost page? Is everybody? Does the to-do comes up? All right. Awesome. Michael, all good? Does the page come up? Yeah. When you do a node, when you run node server.js, okay, or nodemon, whatever you have installed, it doesn't matter. When you run this, and then you go to localhost 8080, this page should come up. Okay. Line what? Line 14. Okay. All right, let's take a break until 8:10. This kind of exercise went over, but I want to make sure that everybody kind of gets it before we move on to the next ones. If you're able to complete this, it will be much easier when we go to the next one. Okay, come back at 8:10, and we'll select out the next exercise. It's kind of now we'll go through these API routes. We'll see how that works. Okay. And then let me know who is not able to complete the local host API and make sure that
I added in the port. Good things. I'm confused because I looked at the other good things and they have work.
I'm assuming that's default.
Yeah, the stabilized config and the other parts as ports.
Any references to ORM?
Okay, but it doesn't. Yeah, I didn't understand that, but so I put it in my mind.
Also,
But everything else. I actually had not heard these things, but like free exercises. Close. I finished. I had Mondays.
now when you have more form,
And I was behind for so long.
you
So like I was doing the growth and stuff, so that's nice.
I took last Monday when I stole when I was up to my plan. That's the way to use PTO, you can't really travel in this class, you know?
Yeah, you can. I can't go to Vegas. Right. So yeah, pretty much I guess we can take some random stuff. I was able to get my stuff submitted. But the links I had.
yeah, try to make it kind of
Yeah. It's hard to identify from the especially when you do
so this is just the beginning stuff. So
yours has to be.
Well, it's actually, Nick was in the class. I was calling, actually I copied down other assignments. I was like calling and editing, but I read the front school that they sent me there, so I was like trying to access it like a property with some functions. That's what it was. Okay.
Okay. So
Again, representation of so we do in
cats.
Right. I
even love like how it's
this is nonsense.
So what you do is
I kept this
Essentially,
with
this is a
like
cleaner version.
I use the sleeping thing for like an hour. I haven't set my birthday date yet, so I need to do that. Yeah, it looks good, but
all this is cat stuff.
right.
It's gonna basically
Yeah, I left the sleepy thing there too. It works. It works at work great.
Curious, did you figure out how to do partial instead of partial?
No,
So essentially, what we're doing is
Don't do like multiple partials, but I couldn't pass the variables and data between partials. I couldn't figure that out. It wasn't you updated the create.
Yeah. So that's essentially what we're doing. Right. Yeah. So in the end, it'll
That's up on the keyboard.
So we'll refine our models and then see instead of
Okay, but now what if we okay, and what if we accidentally write something that updates create?
Yep.
I wonder, does it call something okay?
This doesn't have full functionality yet, but we got rid of
synchronized. So probably just
we just got a will.
so you can probably execute C
Will work.
and update that. There's no data protection.
When you run your app right now, Daniel, does it give you any errors? Not errors, but like, does it give you any lines of code?
Lines of
Back in
code.
the terminal?
Yeah, it was giving me an error when I run it. Yeah, so we need to fix that in the next ones.
Or I'm just not combined.
Yeah, we'll fix that. So there shouldn't be any error right now. As long as we are able to get this page, that's good. We'll fix the ORM stuff because looks like there's some reference. So we'll fix that in the next one.
I also feel like I deleted something I shouldn't have because my button's not green.
It's not green. It's not like this.
Nor is it floated over the box.
Oh, this is probably because there's no like a bootstrap based on that. That's why it's coming out. It's not customized for the.
It's green.
But yeah, it should be green. Why is it not green?
Here.
Did not include your CSS in it?
This will keep you going.
My CSS is here. It doesn't say anything about green though.
So does it have the? You're including the CSS would be part of this thing. Static public. Do you have this line? Unless you deleted it, this line should already be there. There? Oh, do I inspect? Right click, inspect, see if there's any error over there. Probably not able to do something.
I always swallow stuff.
I screwed up every time, and then I just
Internal server error.
I'm so bad. You're just always trying to play baseball.
It was in.
Even like a couple years ago, I was rowing up something.
A little bit more self.
He was split around here, the youngest brother.
It was a really fancy.
Parents were
So much fun. I just love going to
Open bar. It was great. It's a charity event for stroke victims. So it's raise money so that way they can get stroke victims to
It's like 20 miles outside.
create that camp. It's a lot of money.
I could make up some random city in Kansas. Oh yeah.
Our town really
So,
it's like a one-stop like town. There was no McDonald's until 2005.
I
love going up there. If it's a Friday night, after like
There's McDonald's sticking in Iraq and then after
town now, there's like 4 Starbucks. Like, it was really
So it's
good.
sort
When I
of
was
to a
there.
point.
I'm glad it was.
That's at a time. And then it gets cut off.
I know, when I got to college. Yeah.
We just wanted to take tickets, so we'll go off the free dance after that.
Yeah, that was a good deal.
That was really nice.
Yeah, it's a
Very
very
nice.
nice.
Yes, the game's out. And because my dad was like, so why does charity event for people who had stroke?
That's exactly where that started.
Yeah,
dude.
That's stroke.
Guys who have
Just because you
No, how can I do
So,
this?
I'm walking around, so we're just driving around with him, and I use my scooter. You got some guys going up to him, I'm so it's like, that's strictly
I would say Greer.
a lot of special kids.
It's only the only reason like this has
One day, Roy was
is
home,
they have
Roy
some.
was taking my dad across the street.
That's why I think they have like
Goes up to
you know
him and
school.
starts talking to him.
But other than that, we never
He's hitting his knee, laughing his knee. But he was like, I'm not a stroke victim. No. He was, oh, I'm so sorry. And then he was like, hey, knee problems. I'm so sorry for hitting me. That's hilarious.
Bundy.
Yeah.
Those guys didn't live in Western Portland.
It's also really good.
It was
It was
a
really good
band
Saturday.
in Eastern Oregon, but
Well, it's Sunday, it's not
over a wildlife center summers ago. Yeah, it's kind of Monday. I kind of showed this, but they went up to support them, but then they were the ones that were arrested.
In catching up,
Not being arrested.
I was folded behind me. I didn't turn my phone movement to silent.
Yeah, I didn't know the front, I was all lines between them. You got some civic armed forces, and you're gonna
First
bring
it's
it
like, you want to
Army tanks and shit.
It was so easy.
And you know,
It was easy.
That was easy, yeah. I was
After the credit card information, starts fighting you.
That's interesting. I didn't even get my 5 minutes. I was full of it.
After you got it, that's interesting.
That's a start video game. So
Right.
it was fun because it was fighting me up until that point. It had my credit card.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You ever
watch this one?
That's when I added something.
All of these, kind of. These people set up shop in town, north of south of the Dalles area. But they moved so many people in, they took over the town. They registered all these people, they brought homeless people around the country to do the vote. And it was, it would have been popular today, because English, people let a bunch of them register to vote. All these homeless people that the local town water supply, you're backing them. It's fascinating. It's the Netflix doc about it. It's like, Oregon Trail is huge.
It's all that fresh water.
Nobody's coming.
Things really do that until you get into switching cities. So you go from right on Manhattan Trail to Main Street back to Manhattan Trail.
Yeah, there's some weirdness, but this is one of the easier cities to get around. Yeah. If you miss your exit,
I mean, there's like bay and like some hills and stuff.
I drove a car back last week from Portland to here, like Sunday or Tuesday, right? I made it time for class. When I got off the road in Reno, I was trying to get gas. I swear to God, it took me 45 minutes to get back. The amount of roads that didn't come back, those ones where you've got this weird turns, you really can't like, middle of roads, I was losing my mind. But I didn't want to screw up my GPS. I didn't want to just look for gas. I was trying to track all this and things created visions in mind stacked on the drive. I had to cancel it, start fresh. I'm never going back. Should be like that. I didn't know how far it was good. It's pretty lame. Oh, this is really fucking good. I was bummed out I got there when it was dark. It's not crazy. Some stuff that we looked at. That was I don't think there was a time ago that we just had weapons everywhere. It's something you just army depot, the world's biggest weapon depot, I think is what the time was there. Yeah. With both sides of the road, weird looking bunkers.
George's like, yeah.
No. Oh, you found it?
Yes. No, I drove through it with my fiance and I went to visit her grandparents in but it was in California. We ended up driving up to Vegas and then Vegas and we went to Reno and Tahoe, stayed in Tahoe and then I can't remember the name of that town, but
It was uncomfortable.
they were actually having a parade. We were just going to miss the parade, fortunately, because this was that whole stretch of the highway is all military trucks and artilleries and planes and all kinds of certain things. So we got lots of times. It was right by the lake.
I'm finding one of those little Geiger counters, I'm sure.
It was by a lake, right?
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. Well, we got to store those rods somewhere. For sure.
Like testing.
Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 8. Next
No, sorry, that was it. Where do you
Oh, 9. Okay, 9. All right, to give you a quick overview in the exercise 9, now we are going to look at two methods, find all
Didn't we just do 7?
and create.
Yeah, did I have myself?
Yeah, we just did 7.
8, yeah.
We need to do 8.
Start doing 9.
Okay.
Why is this not working?
Yeah. So in exercise 8, we are going to create two methods, find all and create. We are going to use these methods, not create. Okay. Now to give you a read the readme, but quickly you have to go into your api.routes folder and complete the first two functions, get and post. Huh?
We're just going to keep continuing off of what we have, or just go to the next folder?
You can go to the next folder. It has all the stuff that we created. Yeah.
Okay.
You just have to do an npm install in that
You
folder.
have to redo your config stuff.
Oh. Yeah.
Or you can just go where you went.
Or you can go, yeah. It might have the, this the old one has the,
You have to create the route folder.
so the routes folder should already be there. Yeah, we'll have to replace this in the old one. If you're using the old one. No, well, do the new one. The only thing you have to do is update your config.json to your password. Database name is also already there. Just update your password and then then it says you have to do an npm install. Yeah. So the routes folder should already be there. Yes.
The numbers are different. They get old class. They updated this repo during class.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 7's like not even on my computer anymore.
Oh, okay.
Nick's got it.
All right.
No, that's going to be a repeat. Nick's got the right one.
So we are doing the 8, okay? Right. Let's take 15 minutes. Literally, in this get, you literally have to write like 2 lines, and it should work. And the post is like maybe like 5 lines. But the more difficult part would be figuring it out what to use. So if you guys I'm not sure, this should be on the Saturday class, but if not, look at the links at the bottom, the documentation. So this should give you a little bit of an idea what to do. It's kind of a little more material in the documentation, but hopefully this kind of reminds you or gives you an indication from the previous exercises on Saturday how to call this method. So let's take 15 minutes and then I'll walk you through the, I'll write the code for this one. So in API routes, we are completing the first 2 methods, get and post.
This is a partnered activity set. Welcome to speak. Are you?
All right, and let's make sure both of the partners are able to complete this. All right.
How we doing over here? You guys good? Yep.
Yeah, that's I was. Yeah, I would. And then when we're done, I suppose
Yeah. So since you're requiring models, so it'll be So it'll be db dot to do's dot.
well, so this is the same database that you already have.
So it'll be the name of
Yeah.
you go to your two models. Yes.
So it just says that go ahead and type your.
Yeah. So see how it's called to do with a capital T. Yeah.
So db dot to do.
And it's also case sensitive. So correct. Yeah.
See? Hint is. So if I open the documentation, this is what comes up. This is what you need. At this point, we don't need the where, so I'll give you a hint. Don't worry about this one. You can skip this. So it says model.findAll. Model is of course going to be replaced with your model name.
Since we're requiring the whole folder, do we still need to call that specific model?
After the required, yes. So you have to, whatever your variable, let's suppose I say var db is equal to required, blah, blah, blah. So I will say db dot.
Okay.
That's the hint. As if you look at the line number 7,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Dot to do this. This is your model from the documentation over here. It says model. Yeah.
And find all.
Yeah. So an object. I guess a blank object.
Blank. Yes. For now, don't have. Excellent. Yep.
I never understood why people pass in a blank object and find all. I never did that. It really just fun.
You pass in something?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to pass in. What do you mean blank?
Well, no. Like when JJ was teaching us, he said it's best practice to pass in. Like if you don't have a where class, it's best to pass in an empty object.
Oh.
I never really understood why, because an empty object is
Empty.
nothing. So
There's no syntax issue or something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would imagine SQLize checks to see if that object is
Empty or not?
undefined or not. Because if it's undefined or empty, I mean, technically
Kind of
they're
skips it.
same thing. So
Yeah.
So you got the find all you said? Okay. Yeah, check the docs, yeah. They're pretty thorough as far as find all.
Give it a shot. Did you open the latest activity? Yes. Okay. Are you sure? The latest activity is Alright. Yeah. Yeah. Was the previous activity set to delete references to remember? So, yeah, so you don't need, we're replacing that with the sequence.
We're trying to do the get post
Okay. So similar to that,
Yeah.
except that will only work for one model, right?
Right.
And let's say you have 50 models, you're gonna have 50 required statements.
Yeah.
So better way to require one of this. For the function, what do you pass into that? I know it's all squiggly and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You replace some book.
So there's a link in the README at the bottom. You click that, it will directly take you to the.
I don't have to read all of the models. Then you can say
The one that he slacked, or it should be inside. How are you accessing it?
You could require full.
Should be in the unsolved folder.
However, you do need an index.js in
This is not there? Should be on Slack. Let me see. The instructions. Oh, I see. So it's just an unsolved one. Okay, let me slide this out.
Let's see what this one is.
Yes.
You require just like that.
Yeah. So now you can say DB dot your model name. It's not in the unsolved.
That's why
So I slacked out the instructions.
No, it's outside of the.
It's outside the unsolved folder. Yeah. So look at the slacked out instructions.
It's essentially exporting the function. Yeah. So it's equalize state, including passing in the equalize state types. Basically creating.
All right, let's go through this.
Yeah, all the way to.
Went all the way up to 4.
I started
4. Okay. All right. Let's start this one. So let's go into our unsolved, and it says first of all do a npm install. Okay. So let me go back from this folder. This is exercise 8. Installed. Okay. npm install. Okay. So npm install, everything successful. Let's go to the number 2, update config.json file. So let's go to our JSON file, config.json. Username, that's what I have. Password is different, so I'm going to update my password here. Okay, to-do list, this database is already there, so I don't have to worry about it. This is the only change most probably you guys also have to do in this one. Okay? Now let's go back to our number 3, API.routes. Okay. Now in my API.route folders, I need to complete the first 2 methods, get and post. Okay. Let me click the find all first, and it takes me to this documentation. Oh. Okay. So it says model.findAll. Okay. So the model keyword over here is kind of generalized. So you have to replace it with whatever model you have. Okay. So the model that we have is called to do. This is what we are returning, right? So this is what our module is called. So we need to call this one. Okay. Before we can call, this is required. It's already there, but I want to make sure you guys understand that you need to do a require / model so that you can have access to this todo.js. Okay. Right now it's already there, so you don't have to worry about it. So now what do I do? Let's go back to our readme. It said at the bottom there's a hint. You can access the to-do model from here with db.todo. Okay, and the reason is because in my db I'm exporting all the complete folder which has 2 files, right? And in my todo.js, that's where my model lies. So I have to do a db.todo and then something. Okay, so db.todo, this is going to be my model. All right, now let's go back to documentation. I have this part down now, and then I need to call this method find all. Okay, so I go back and say db.todo.find all. Okay, it's a method, close it, then we put a semicolon here and finish this. All right, so this is how you call the find all method. Again, what does the find all method do? It will get all the rows from your database table. All right, and that's what you're trying to do over here. API to-dos, we are getting all the rows from our table. Now this is not complete. Let's look at the documentation. What else is there? So inside over here, it says that you can pass in all this stuff, options, option.where, all this stuff. But if you see these, all of these are optional. I don't really have to pass anything. Okay. So the first parameter is an object, which is an optional. You can do this, but you don't have to pass it. Right now, to keep it simple, I'm not passing anything over here, so it's empty. Okay, empty object right now. All right, so let's go back. It says, I see the word promise. It returns a promise. Again, it's a async method, and we saw in the sync method of the SQLize, we used what? .then, right? That's what we need to do, the same thing over here. If you see the word promise anywhere, you should definitely think .then. This is going to be involved as soon as you see this keyword promise anywhere. Let me zoom this a bit. Okay. So since I see the keyword, then I need to do .then. And what goes inside .then? A function, which is a callback function. Okay. If you see promise, again, then automatically think .then function, and then inside the .then function, you call your callback function. Same as what we did for sync. All right. So let's go ahead and make our callback function, and So what am I saying over here is that when I call this function, which is an async function, whenever this completes, call the code which is going to be inside over here. Okay, since this is async, we need to do this to make sure that this function, this whole thing runs completely in one go. All right, so this is something that you need to remember how to call these functions. All of these functions are going to be async, so we're going to be calling this. So you'll say your model db.todo and then your function. Right now we are on find all, then we'll see create, update, delete, whatever those methods are. All right, now in this one I'm going to get something back. What am I going to get back? I'm going to get all my data back, right? All the number of rows are coming in this Power BI function. Now you can do a console log and it will show you, but in my readme it says do a res.json and then I'll just do a data. All right, so this will return, when you call this route, it's going to return all the data from the database. Okay, 2 lines of code and we are done. We have done the select query, goes in, SQLize takes care of it and gives us the data from our database. Okay, any questions on find all? Okay, let's go ahead and complete our next one, the create method. So this is how create looks like. Let me go back up. Oh, I think I lost. Let me find this again. Oop. It's in my readme file at the bottom. All right. So this is my create, and it says again promise. So dot then method, and then this is the method name that I need to call. So it's going to be model whatever dot create. All right, then I need to pass in values. We'll see what those values means. Everything else is optional, so I'm not going to worry about that. All right, so let's go ahead and create our this method over here. Same thing, db.todo my model name dot create. Okay, then I'm going to end my function before I go inside it. All right, now going back here, it says I need to pass in an object values. Okay, so I need to pass in an object. So let me go ahead and create my object that I need to pass in. Okay, and since I saw the word promise, let's complete this method. So this is going to be a basic syntax for every SQLize call. Find all, create, delete, update. We'll fill this out, but it's going to be your model name. Always remember that model name dot method create, find all, blah blah blah, whatever, updates, delete, and then dot then method. Basic syntax. Always start with this and then you can go and fill the stuff inside it. Okay, now over here we need to pass in, since this is a create, we are inserting our data into our database, right? So we need to pass in our columns, data for those columns. All right, so our first column is called text, so we are going to pass some data for text. All right, since this is the post call, how do I get the data out of it? Anybody remembers how do I get the, when I make a post call, somewhere my data is coming. How do I get the data out? That's in the request. Excellent. Request dot body. So post always sends the data in your body. So it's going to be request dot body and then dot text. I think that's what it's called. Similarly, complete. So I have 2 columns. The second is called complete. So request dot body dot complete. Okay. All right. And these text and complete are coming from the UI, from your JavaScript. Somewhere you guys, if you go and dig deeper, you will see somebody is calling these API to-dos and they're passing in text and complete. That's where this name is coming from. Okay, now let's go ahead and complete the then function. Again, I have to do a callback, so I'll create my callback function here. And then what am I going to get? I'm going to get something back. So let me go ahead and do a data. All right. And then it says, write the code to create a new to-do, save it to the database. We saved it, then rest.json back the new to-do user. Okay, so I just need to do a rest.json, whatever that data that I get back. Okay. All right. Any questions in these two methods? All right. So now when you run this, you should be able to see your UI again, and then you should be able to add a to-do item, and it should show up. Questions? Eric, you good?
I think I see it.
You see it? Oh, okay.
I see that. Yeah, I see that.
Okay, were you able to run it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. So, okay, looks good. No issues. Let me go back and run my localhost. My page shows up. Oh, I already created one. Okay. Okay, it's adding. We haven't done the delete part, so that's not going to work. But our find all is getting all the rows from the data. I have 2 rows right now, and then when I do add something, it adds it. Okay, so my both of these methods are working. Let me close this and see if there are any questions before we proceed to the next one. Okay, was everybody? Yes.
I get an error that says cannot read find all.
Cannot read find all. Cannot. Let's see. It's did you do to do or to do's? What did you create your object? Oh, check your model.
That's the next one.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's do the next exercise. Next one is you are going to do delete and update, I believe. So go ahead. We'll take 15 minutes. Look at the documentation. Let me open this README here to make sure. Okay, yeah, so do the same thing with delete and your update. Look at the documentation. Now you know find all and create, see if you can figure out doing this one now. Update and destroy. They are very similar to find all. Well, they're kind of similar to find all probably. Delete and update. And Will, can you post the README also? Thank you. Yep. Perfect.
Is the one folder we just got flagged out maybe any different than the one we would have had completed by everyone?
No, it's same. You can continue with the same one. All you need to do is update the find all, update the put and delete method. I'm going to use the same one actually. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing different over here. Did that work, David?
Yeah. I need the whole mass in the previous exercise.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh,
The same one, yeah.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah. So the this one you can follow the same exercise, the same one. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah.
My foot is in the gate. That's probably because it's in the gate. That's pretty fun.
Same as the add. And the difference is instead of creating the object, you do a where, build out where with
That's what I'm trying to figure out what to specify.
I was just using the now it's under solved.
You have create. Basic. Then you have create, which introduces the text and body. Then you have delete, which is where we are. And you have put, but
I'm just on
here,
the lab right now.
but I still don't tell you that's
I don't have to download it.
I did a poll just
Let's align.
Yeah, I know. It's called the lambda function. I'm just working some things with we copied that from
Oh, did they?
so listen. Go ahead.
Oh, they did.
Well, you know,
So the way I see it is a mixture of so doing exactly what you had up there. I haven't had a wear cost. Correct. But now it's in a still on the second side. Oh, okay. So you already opened that one.
What do you guys didn't understand anything on Saturday?
I'm just using what was done on Saturday and just pasting and then
Okay.
applying our. I didn't get that part done on Saturday either. I just pulled them out.
Okay. As long as you copy paste and change this stuff and it's working. Yeah.
So instead of doing false here, it would be and then the web page will have
The difference with the update is they have to put a parameter for the object that work body.
just copy.
So put is just
Now put that
another way.
so
They'll just be using whatever update function SQLite has.
so that's object one. Now right there do comma. That's great second object. Right now. Now you're where. It's also tell there.
That should be.
Now, I would deduct the link to the SQLite, this page right here. That's the page you want to You just have to SQLite docs or something like that.
Yeah, I ended up looking at the past. I ended up looking at the past. The past one is all. Yeah, I was also trying to understand it from their.
Sure.
From the documentation, and it didn't show me.
Okay, so
You know what? Top left.
I would really like to see an example.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I was looking, I'm like, where's the example? I just need to get the code and copy it.
That's like the key to the process. But it doesn't.
Well, it is, I agree, it is thorough, like it has all the details, but sometimes I just want to look at the code example and kind of figure it out on my own. But what they have a thorough documentation of each option, what it means. That's good, but they don't have the code over here.
Yeah, there's no code.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like, I just copy paste the code and change it on my own, kind of figure it out. But this one has all the details, but no code over here. I'm like, okay.
Except
Programmers who did this one.
I guess.
My program, you just see code pasted in all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I was when I looked, I was like, "Where's the code?" I'm just going to copy paste and get it working. Yeah, it's like no code over here.
So
I pretty similar to no, it's called update.
delete now is pretty much what you do data only for. That's why like the that's destroy, yeah. That's the part you actually need to look up instead of delete.
Well, that just gives you the tabular kind of view of what the model. We'll go over here.
No, there's one thing, one issue. And
If you go back to the other page.
Delete?
Oh, you're looking for delete?
No, I got it. Which one?
Oh, no, I was going to say, you just click on home, top left hand side. You go to, I think it's under transactions, maybe? That's probably where update
So querying has all the read ones. It doesn't have the.
probably under model usage.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
bodies come from as a
Huh.
So that's the difference. Brand, they come from the URL or they come from the JSON. How do you tell? Well, you can easily tell by looking at the URL, and if you don't see the colon ID, that means you're probably getting the body.
I did find
the colon ID, colon name, colon
Okay.
anything, that probably means you're going to get it. Then you can
All right. Let's look at the update and delete. All right. So let's do the delete first. So I'm going to follow the same files that I updated in the previous one. It's going to be very similar. Okay, let's do the delete. So according to the documentation, when I click, it says it's called destroy. All right. Nick is trying to find if there's a better documentation which shows the code. In the meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll follow the same methodology that says on the top. So it's going to be by model and then my destroy method. So it's going to be db.todo, okay, and it's called .destroy. Okay, function close. That's all of these are async. I'll just add my dot then and close this. Okay, I started with the basic syntax. Always going to be this. So I did a destroy and then we'll fill this out now. So in destroy I just need to pass an object what I'm trying to delete, or more like a condition, this one. So what I'm trying to run in my delete query is delete from this table where ID is some ID that I'm passing in. That's what I want to do. So I have a where clause, right? So I'm going to say delete where ID is, and this time where is the ID coming from? How do I get the ID out? The params. Request or response? Request. Well, there was a 50-50% chance, right? Is it the request? Yeah. Response.id. Okay. Again, destroy is running the query which says delete from this table where ID is equal to something. So there's a where clause. That's why I need my where object. And I say where, and ID is a column name in my database. Okay. Then function, I need to pass in a anonymous function. So I'll say data, same thing. And then it says I do rest.json, pass this data back. Okay. This is how you do the delete. All right. Let's do the update. And for put or update, the function is called update. So let's go and do db dot to do dot update. Okay. I'm going to call this function anonymous. So dot then, same syntax, finish this. All right. Now, what does the update query run? Update query will say update my table name, set these columns, right? Where, and then you have to specify an ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the update. So update, I need to pass in the data first. That what am I, what columns am I updating? Okay, so I'll pass in both my columns, text and what's it called, complete. So this is very similar to the create one. Text is coming in my body, so it's request.body.text, and then my complete is request.body.complete. Okay, so very similar to the create one. I'm getting all my data in the body of the request, so I pull those two things out. This is what I'm going to update in my database. All right, and what else do I need over here? Is this complete or do I need something else? So how does my query looks like? It says update this table, these columns, where something, right? Where an ID. So I'm missing the where clause over here. And how do I do the where? If you look at the delete one, that's exactly how, it's the same thing. That's how I do the where clause. So you can copy the first one or create, or I'm going to write it out, but it's exactly the same as the destroy method has. So this is going to be where my ID and my, so where do I get my ID from now? Look at the destroy method above. Is it going to be the same thing or is it going to be different? Different. Why is it going to be different? Exactly. Look at the URL. So input over here, it's different, but usually what you would do is you can do a after your to do, you can put a colon ID, or in this case looks like they're passing the ID also in the body. I don't have the ID in my URL. Okay, if my ID was in the URL, what I would do, I would say request.params, like in the delete one, because my ID is in the URL. But over here, I don't have the ID. So this means most probably they are passing it in the body. So if it's in the body, it's going to be request.body.id. Oh, am I missing the where? Yeah. Missing the name of the object. It's going to be where dot. Okay. Oh, it's in. What am I missing? It's in a different one. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So it's going to be where dot, and then inside this is going to be. Okay, thank you. What was that? This one? What was that?
Curly brace L. This
Curly brace is what?
curly brace L.
Oh yeah,
There's so many
yeah.
coming up.
Do I have the right?
Yeah, you're right now.
I'm right now. Okay. Let's see if it is formed. Oh, that's better. Now I can see. All right. Yes.
What exactly do lines 55 and 56 do?
55 and 56. Okay. So if you look at, go back to the create method. Did you get the line 30 and 31 over here? Okay. It's the exact same thing what create is doing. You're doing same thing in the update. So update is you are trying to update these two columns, right?
In the database?
In the
or on
database.
HTML?
In the database from the HTML. HTML, you're going to type in something and it's going to update these two columns.
The only reason I ask is because I didn't have basically lines 55 and 56. I went straight from the update to the request.body and then doing the where of the ID, and it works just fine. I just don't know what it does differently.
Right. So what if you don't put this in, what is happening is it updating anything in the database? It won't, because you are not passing any column. So this is what it is saying is, if you see your update query, it says update table name set, and then you have column names. And that's where this is the set statement. So you're going to update these two columns where this ID, where ID. If you don't pass this in, it's just going to run an empty update and not going to update anything. Or it might update it to null actually. Try this and see if it updates it to like empty for this particular ID.
So when you hit the checkbox, this is
Yeah.
what will strike it out or not.
Right. See if it strikes it out or not.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. Make sure this is. Okay. Okay, refresh it. I get my. Let me make sure it's adding. Okay, this is adding. This should. It's not adding that. Let's go back and see. Does it delete? Oh. It is not deleting. So I'm missing a. Oh, I'm missing my dot gen. So I didn't complete my dot then. Function data, and then okay. All right. So let's go ahead and add something, then delete it, deletes it, and then it does the strike through. Okay, so the check mark is doing the update and X is doing the delete. Let me go back and show you guys the code again before we move on to the last one. Okay, Your work?
Am I, can I share it?
Yeah.
So like I'm able to check and uncheck them already.
Okay.
I can update them.
Okay.
But I don't have the text complete except the rec body here.
No, that's when you go to reference.
So do a update on your screen.
What do you mean?
Go back to HTML, the browser. Yeah. Do the update. It's regex.
Like where I change it?
Just refresh this page. That's interesting. So without the, you did the dot update, and then you did request dot body. Looks like that's also
Is UUID.
Just optional stuff that you're putting in.
yeah. This is right.
I was just following this here.
Yeah.
Typically, can you say field?
Yeah. So this what you would have the issue is go back to a bit. Go back to HTML. The browser. Yeah. Update. Finish my homework, but don't pause it out. No.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. So it is. Right. So I want to send a false. Yeah, in this case. Because as soon as you do the check mark, it's going to send you a false. That's why you see that. The check mark is it sends it a false and updates it. Yeah, in this case, there's no way to separate those two things. So what I was trying to say is, then let's suppose I just want to update the text. I never want to update a column. Like the second column, I just want to make sure that only the first one gets updated, not anything else. But in this use case, it doesn't matter. Yeah. All right. So let's do the last exercise, and this is related to validations. So Sequelize comes with some validations also. So let's go ahead and complete this exercise, and this will complete the whole activity.
Still using the same thing?
Still use the same thing, yeah. Yeah, you can use the same thing.
This is the right
Let's scroll up a little bit.
Will you guys have the new one? Instructions.
Oh, I see.
Oh, we're on the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, validation.
You have to kill that anything that is running on that port. Yeah. Yeah, try this with the 8080 and see if something comes up. LSOF space minus I space colon 8080.
Oh, 80.
Seven, 8, 2, 9, 6, and then do a kill -9 and then 7, 8, whatever. Kill space -9 space. Because now. Yeah. So this time we are not modifying the API routes, it's the todo.js file. So if you look at the documentation for validation, right now we have this, our columns define column name and just the data types. But if you want to implement the validation, we have to convert this into a object like this over here. So they have example foo, then they have type this and then validate. So we'll have to change this. We'll have to say text colon, same as this, and then put this in two different objects. So this becomes one object like this, and then you have some options, and then complete also becomes an object. Again, right now we have single property, so this is how we have defined, but if you want to use validation, this is what you have to do. You have to convert your column name as they have foo over here, and then create object, and inside that you have to have a type, and that's where your type goes. Okay, so how do I do this one? The first one, so follow here foo colon, so I already have this. I'm going to make this an object, okay, like this, and then it says I have to have this type colon and then sequelize dot string whatever. So I already have this, so I just have to add type colon this thing. Okay, so this is how my column is going to become. So before, what was different was I already have one property, like the complete one, so that's why this works. But if I want multiple properties, like for validation, you need a second property over here, so that's why you have to change this a little bit and make this an object also. And now you can use your validations. You'll have to do the same thing with the complete also. Yeah.
Force.
What was that?
Force.
From what I could tell in the documentation, it's telling me that in the sync I do options object, and then I assume I do options dot force object.
No, you can just do force. You don't need to do option dot force.
There's force to do.
Force, and then what do you say? It's an object, right?
Right, which is object that we were syncing.
So basically, this is
Force is yep, you have to do it, right? So you just have to pass in an object. So what you have to do is sync, right? And then you have to pass in an object, which is going to be force
Oh, okay.
true.
Got it.
Right, that's what it says, right? Sync options, which is an object. Yeah, this should work. Force. What happened?
It's a good question. What happened? Well, validation is not working. That's for sure.
Who's gonna try that? Let's see, validate. I want to restrict the length. So which one should I use? Oh, this one. Are you using this one, len, len?
Yeah, that's what I
Okay, min max also, yeah. Let's try both and see. I want to try the length because it says over here length only allows values with length between 2 and 10. So that seems straightforward.
Have less than 140?
Yeah, so 1 and 140 then.
Oh, wait.
Well,
Just change the numbers.
yeah, it says the length. This is the example.
Oh, got it.
So
I thought you were saying you could only put
yeah,
2 and
but I don't want to type that one, so I'm just going to do 1 and 5 and see if this works. Then I can 5 characters. Yeah, let's see. What is it?
Between 1 and 2 and
2 and 10. So one, if you type in 1, it's going to give an error.
in that example.
In this example.
but if you put 2, technically it wouldn't be between 2, it would be 2.
Well, let's find out. It looks like it's saying these are inclusive. That 2. If you type in 2 letters, okay, let's take this example. Say if you type in 2, it's valid. If you type in 10, it's valid. But 1 is not valid, and 11, 12, 13 is not valid. Seems like it's inclusive. Let's give it a try and see. So in my case, I have 1 and 5. Well, let's do 2 and 5. So if I do A, okay. So it didn't let me add it, at least. What was that? And then if I add 3, this should let me add. Okay, this works. And then I do if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then this shouldn't let me add this too. Okay. So my validation, I said, has to be between 2 and 5.
So what if you put only 2?
Yeah, let's try that too. So this should work. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's inclusive.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the easiest one that I see over here. Let's see what else. You can do the min and max and try that too. Only allows values. So these are numbers. So this only takes the numbers. Like 23, you have to just do numbers over here. Yeah. Not null, won't allow nulls. Okay, let's try this one too. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't let me add anything if I do not know. Okay, let me recap this really quickly. So in the validations, what I did was I changed my column, okay, to an object. Now I have access to this according to the documentation. I'm just following whatever they have over here. So they have a lot of, seems like they have some good options. Is email, that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about that. If you have a text box which only takes email address, you can use this. So I'm trying the length 2 and 5, so that's why it won't let me enter anything less than 2, like a 1 character. It won't add this one, or more than 5, right? But that, this was just too easy so that I don't have to enter like a lot of characters. So that was the part, and the last part was the sync. What was that? Where is that one? Force true. has been created in sync for the first time. Any changes we make to our to-do model won't be picked up by a database. So in order to resolve that issue, we have to pass in force true. So this code will go in my server.js when I do a sync, and then I need to pass in an object which says force true. So this will refresh, keep refreshing my database. Oh, it's actually crashing. Oh, because I have a slash here. Okay. So this will make sure that all my models are synced. Okay. Again, going back to my to-do, validate. This is the object, and this is how I. There's a lot more options. Go through those, validate, and so again, when you do your project, validation is very important. So make sure in your activities and your projects you do validations, and this seems very easy. They have again, they have a lot of options here. You can validate an email address. They even have for IP address also. URL, not empty, contains. All are good options to look at. All right. Any questions on the validation part? Go to your server.js and then add this flag force true. What it will do is it will, if you make any changes to your database, this is going to force it to reload it. Force true.
What does that do exactly? It drops all tables?
Well, it won't drop if you make changes to your to-do, like the column name, edit, text, and all that. It's going to force and it's going to refresh so that it can reflect everything. So it's just like in your in your MySQL, you create a database, then you need to change it, right? When you do either you drop or you alter the table, that's what the force true does. So it's good practice to use the force true. Okay. All right, Thursday we are still going to look at SQLize, some more complicated stuff with the joins and more than one tables. So go back, take a look at this activity again, revise. Hopefully it's a little bit clearer now. If not, I'm here. Ask me questions for the after between 9:30 and 10, and then I'll see you guys on Thursday. All right. Yes. On Saturday. Yeah, I'll share the little bit about the project, but most of it is dedicated on Saturday. Yeah, I want to complete this before Saturday.